No, 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 no. I'm a colleague of his who has a very similar office who specializes in these sorts of things. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Stench of Truth. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac bailout. Big news on the economic front. Of course, this entire thing is a sham and a farce, and was only a question of timing as to when it would come about, because the largest mortgage insurance corporations, supposedly, in this country, having to face a bailout by the federal government. Of course, there is a bigger picture in all of this. And while we have talked in the past, and while the news is focused on the economy at various times in various places, we've yet to see the full scope of the economic disaster that is waiting. Okay, there are trillions of dollars in mortgage assets that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have, but the real important issue behind this, in my point of view, is that all of that paper holds title to actual physical land in this country. And who is probably the biggest holder of that? China and other countries around the world. Sure, there's some big funds that are invested in there too, but an awful lot of that is being held by countries outside the United States. And when the chickens come home to roost in that scenario, you're going to have the Chinese and the Abu Dhabis and the Dubais coming here to this country wanting the land that they hold the paper to, because we're not going to be able to pay it. This fucking country has no money to pay the debts that we owe. Period. We gotta borrow fucking money every day to just run operations, let alone to back up trillions of dollars in Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So, you want to talk about the loss of infrastructure in this country, you want to talk about the loss of our sovereignty and the loss of this country, as a sovereign state. You're looking at it right now. You're looking at the development of it right now, and you're looking at the dissolution of this country as its own place, as its own sovereign state. It's fucking coming. That's going to be the end result of the economic chaos that comes. The total dissolution of this country as a sovereign state. When everybody else around the world, China and all the states in the Middle East, come home and want their money, we can't pay it, they're going to take the land. And then you're going to have the Chinese owning the breadbasket of this country. And we're going to have to buy food off of them because they're growing it on their land in our country. And of course, the economic situation continues to get worse, too. We've not even seen the end of it. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Even though Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac is a huge, huge, giant powerhouse in the mortgage industry, and having this fall back to a government bailout is a tremendous blow. It's a tremendous blow to the economy. There's still more to come, because foreclosures are going up. They're increasing every day. So more and more paper is outstanding. That means more and more property is bound to be taken over by whoever holds that. And a lot of it is offshore. Also, banks are continuing to fail, but you don't hear a lot about this in the news. Seems like every Friday there's a bank that collapses. And one just recently fell that was tied to John McCain's son. Kind of reminds you of a while back with Neil Bush being involved in a savings and loan debacle. So it seems like John McCain has a lot more in common with the Bush family than even we've already observed. Of course, there's also some more natural disasters happening, with Ike hitting Cuba and Haiti taking a bashing. And I think it's rather poignant and interesting that Cuba, just like Myanmar or Burma, is refusing aid from the United States because they do not want us there, just like they don't want us in practically every other fucking place around the world where we neb our fucking noses.